Norman castles were designed for an alternate purpose than just attack. They were not specifically defensive structures, but in fact they were created to intimidate the conquered Anglo-Saxons and remind them of the invading Norman power. Norman castles were often constructed in locations that were considered places of strategic value. The first Norman castle in England was built a few miles from where William landed and used it as a base for soldiers to terrorise the local population and gather supplies. Unlike the Anglo-Saxon fortified towns, a Norman Motte Bailey castle could be put together with extreme speed. In some cases, it only took a few days. William had 8,000 men to try and consolidate his power in England. Building Motte Bailey castles were an effective way to secure towns that had submitted to his power. Although the wooden structures were much more vulnerable to damage than a stone structure, a Motte Bailey castle could be built quickly until the Normans had time to build a more permanent stone structure. However, the major weakness of the Motte Bailey castle was that it was most likely to rot or burn down. So, the solution that the Normans came up with was to simply build a stone keep. However, it wasn't as simple as that, as if they put stone on where the original wooden light castles had gone, it could sink into the motte. Also, there was the factor of cost as well, and transporting the heavier stone instead of the light and movable wood. The Normans originally built Tamworth Castle in Staffordshire in 1070, but before that it was the site of a Saxon burh. The wooden structure was replaced by a more permanent stone keep designed in the 1080s. Stone castles, however, had a number of advantages over wooden Motte Bailey castle structures. They could easily be built inside the walls of the Motte Bailey castle. This meant that the castle was still operational whilst it was being rebuilt. Unlike the wooden castle, the new stone keep did not rot or go up in flames so easily. Stone castles were very expensive to build, but they demonstrated the wealth and power of the lord that had built it. The first stone tower was built in 1070 by William I, and is known today only as the infamous Tower of London. Between 1070 and 1087, an additional 85 stone castles were built all across the country of England. The most visible part of a stone castle was the central stone tower. This was built at the highest point of the fortification and had a huge number of advantages. The height of these towers meant that they could be seen by people from miles away. This demonstrated the power of the Normans, which also scared the local Anglo-Saxons into submission. It also gave lookouts and archers excellent defensive positions. These castles were rarely attacked without warning, and they were an excellent base to attack from. The lord could live in much greater luxury in a stone keep. Bigger fires could be kept, and rain was no longer a major problem. The keep was the first part of the castle, and was expected to be the last part to fall to the enemy. A lord and many of his soldiers could survive a siege for months inside the keep, whilst waiting for reinforcements. Although they seemed impenetrable at first, attackers quickly realised the weaknesses of the many stone keeps. These castles were expensive to build and also to maintain, so only the wealthiest of lords could afford to build and maintain and secure these stone forts. The castles were built on a square or rectangular plan. Attackers had to simply find a way of tunnelling underneath one of the corners to bring down a whole section of the castle. Siege weapons like trebuchets could fire heavy rocks. If these missiles hit a flat surface, there would be a major crumble to the castle. Motte Bailey castles were definitely a sure way to express the Norman influence and power in England and to put the conquered Anglo-Saxons back in their place.